It's the last day of the season at Six Flags Great Adventure in New Jersey, one of the world's largest theme parks, and home to some of the tallest, fastest, and most expensive thrill rides in America. The season may only just be over, but work has already begun on a $12 million ride that they hope will be the jewel in their crown. Since their introduction in the early 80s, steel coasters have dominated the market. But it wasn't always this way. For coaster aficionados, woodies, as they are affectionately known, are as much a part of America's DNA as baseball and the drive-in movie. With wood, you get a structure that shakes and bends in a way that cold hard steel never can.
They're going to scream on this one.
Wood is now enjoying a renaissance. Veteran coaster builder Al Rubano is director of construction on El Toro at Six Flags, New Jersey.
The thing about El Toro is that it features all the new technology that is now in place today for the construction of a wood roller coaster.
"650 miles to the west is a small town called Santa Claus, Indiana, a fact that the residents have taken rather a little too much to heart.
A land of fantasy where young and old alike can enjoy Christmas every day.
Hello there. Welcome to Santa Claus Land.
60 years ago, a man called Louis J. Cook decided to cash in on the town's unusual name by opening a Christmas-themed children's park. Holiday World, as it's now known, has expanded over time, but is still run by the Cook family. It has become a successful and profitable business. They have even received presidential endorsement. But the success of every theme park ultimately lies in its rides.
It had always been our dream to have a coaster at our park. So when we got the Raven, it was just huge. We just were so excited. And then when we had the Legend, that was even bigger, longer, more wonderful. We were even more excited.
Now, the family have decided to invest $8 million in their biggest wooden coaster yet, the Voyage. Using the very latest computer technology, the ride's designers are aiming to push the boundaries of wooden coaster engineering to the limit.
We want it to be fun, and I think wood coasters are better at producing fun than steel coasters are. Steel coasters are maybe better at producing fear.
We just feel wood is more family than the steel. We're just fans of wooden coasters. We think they're more loving.
Dallas Jones is a 68-year-old retired haulage entrepreneur from the small town of Bowling Green, Kentucky. When he bought the local drag racing strip, he also found himself the surprise owner of the town's dilapidated theme park.
Well, we have guests that come in and say, "When you guys leaving?" And it's like, well, what do you mean? This is the permanent installation park.
Many retired haulage entrepreneurs landed with a rundown fairground they didn't want might wash their hands of the whole business. But Dallas decided to do something extraordinary.
My wife was skeptical on the beginning. She said, let's keep that money and spend it as we get older.
Dallas listened to her advice, then took their life savings, cashed in their pensions, and then borrowed some more to raise the $4 million he needed to build a wooden coaster that he hopes will be the pride of Kentucky. But out here, in the middle of nowhere, the question Dallas's wife must be asking is, will anyone come to ride it?
Some of my friends say I'm crazy, and some of them think that it's wonderful. For the most part, I've had good positive feedback and good positive remarks from people.
In America, the race is on to build the most spectacular new roller coaster on Earth. In this unique period in construction history, 3 very different theme parks are competing to build the biggest. At Holiday World, Indiana, the Voyage features a record-breaking 5 underground tunnels. At Beach Bend Park, Kentucky, the track will have more crossovers than any other track in America. And at Six Flags, New Jersey, El Toro will send people into the steepest wooden roller coaster drop on Earth. Making sure a ride the size of El Toro stays standing is no mean feat and requires huge foundations. Richie Bean is site superintendent. His first coaster was the park's last wooden ride, built almost 30 years ago.
This is, in my view, one of the most intricate and no-tolerance portions of the job. The foundations are extremely critical to the success of the erection of this ride. Behind me happens to be the highest part of this ride. It's approximately 185 feet high, and what you're looking at is 2 independent foundation forms, both containing 150 cubic yards of concrete. The loads here are significantly higher than where the train might be only 16 feet off the ground going into our offload station. So this warrants heavier reinforcing steel. Certainly the size of the foundation increases substantially. It's like the iceberg that's below water level.
When the foundation is complete, it will contain 162,000 cubic feet of concrete. Above the ground, all that will be visible are these blocks, known as pier caps, to which the entire structure of the ride will be bolted. The flat-packed ride is shipped from the factory in Germany and arrives on site pre-cut and pre-shaped, each piece bearing a number to indicate where it fits. Batches of identical pieces are checked off and sorted according to the instructions on the box. With every perfectly shaped piece labeled like a self-assembly kitchen, work proceeds at quite a pace. Simple, as long as you hold on to the plans. At Beach Bend Park in Kentucky, over 250,000 feet of southern yellow pine is being handcrafted into one of the most beautiful wooden roller coasters ever built. This ride is being built the traditional way, with every single piece of wood cut, shaped, and drilled by hand, on site. Every piece of wood is kiln dried to remove moisture and treated chemically with a chromated copper arsenate spray that penetrates the outer fibers and seeps into the inner grain. This treatment protects the wood from the sun, prevents dry rot, and keeps insects at bay. The soft wood allows the carpenters to achieve the bends and curves required. The ride's designer, Jeff Pike, is passionate about how his creations look.
To me, a roller coaster is much more than just designing the numbers and finding the forces and going this way and that way. Essentially, the sculpture that is going to be a very unique and very key identifying point for the park for maybe 50 or 100 years. Well, one of the very first things that I think about when I start to do a roller coaster design is how the overall appearance is going to be. I wanted to make sure we preserve the look of the ride. If you stand in the midway and you're looking towards the ride, I really wanted this curve to be taller, but if this curve was much taller, we would have started to sacrifice a little bit of speed. And I know from a design standpoint that people really want speed on the ride, so I had to kind of reach a balance. It's not too tall, it's not too short, it'll be going nice and quick. People are really going to get the feel of switching direction here as they come down this turn. I'm very pleased with how this turned out. Now, the tight radius of the curve means that there's a lot of lateral pressure pushing outward on the structure, and to resolve that pressure, we have to have these very steep batters on the inside. And they come down all to the central point, which is, it's called, the term for this is a dead man. It's basically a big lump of concrete, and we're standing on it as well. It's not just what you see here. We're standing on about a 15-foot diameter plug of concrete. Also on the outside of this turn, we have batters heading down towards the outside, and they're also sharing that load. And that load is balanced so that both of these pieces of structure are working together to make sure that the turn itself doesn't flex out too far.
Fond memories of childhood visits to fairgrounds play a large part in the enduring nostalgia for wooden coasters, but there is also something arresting and beautiful about a massive wooden structure in an age when almost everything is constructed of concrete or steel. In the competitive theme park industry, the details of new rides are a jealously guarded secret, and roller coaster enthusiasts, some of whom have been known to sneak onto construction sites and even take aerial photos from light aircraft, are usually kept at arm's length. But for its latest ride, The Voyage, Holiday World took a bold step and decided to get into bed with the enemy. Recruited in secret, sworn to silence, and with their identities kept hidden even from each other, a group of 9 trusted enthusiasts were given privileged access to plans for the new ride. Exchanging information only by email, the clandestine fraternity were asked to act as design consultants.
Hi, my name is Dave Altoff. I am an audiovisual technician from Columbus, Ohio, and I am part of the Secret 9.
Hello, I am Matt Campbell, and I'm an insurance trainer from Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am part of the Secret 9.
I'm Paula Rooney, and I created the Secret 9.
Today, for their eyes only, there's an opportunity to see the new coaster for the very first time.
It's sort of amazing, the sophistication.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
This thing is incredible.
This is a Kodak moment, or 8 megapixel moment. What a beautiful picture that makes with the leaves changing. Wow. Something, you know, the season's dying off and a new coaster's rising up out of the autumn there.
Unreal. I can't believe how tall it is. It's almost like somebody said, okay, if we could build you a coaster, what would it look like? Yeah. And, you know, that may be pretty close.
Some of the most exciting things on that ride, though, I think, are going to be the surprises. You know, everyone's going to see the massive size of this coaster, but it's going to be the little things that are buried out in the woods or underneath that lift hill that I think are really going to surprise people.
The Voyage is an out-and-out thrill ride whose design is approached from a practical standpoint.
I once worked with somebody who described it as rideable art. Really, I think that happens by chance, because we're looking at the numbers, the rider forces, and designing a structure that'll hold up the track. And what it looks like from an architectural standpoint or from an artistic standpoint when it's finished is kind of just chance. It's just what it looks like.
4 designers are behind The Voyage. Chad, Larry, Mike, and Corey set up the Gravity Group 3 years ago, after the company they worked for went bust. The small team relies on the latest computer software to help them solve the complex engineering problems.
The calculations haven't changed. Physics is physics. But the moment we change the geometry of the ride, we can look at the screen and see how that affected the forces on the riders.
The Voyage is a hybrid. It has a traditional handcrafted wooden track supported by a steel structure. This combination allows for a much leaner framework.
This is going to be an amazing spot.
Wow.
Right here.
Steel structure is not a new idea. The Coney Island Cyclone, built
Exactly.
in the 20s as a steel structure, so that's nothing unusual. It's just all in the track bed.
One of the big benefits of using the steel structure is it uses a lot less land, and so it can really be a ride through the woods.
To have the criticism of these people that have ridden hundreds of coasters is valuable information for us.
This coaster, has a lot more in similarity, I think, to the Beach Bend coaster than the Great Adventure ride.
Sure, right.
In that the Beach Bend coaster is probably the epitome of a classic 1920s twister roller coaster. The nice thing about this ride is it's very narrow and it's very angular. Look at the supports for it. You don't see a lot of rides that look like this.
Beyond the lift hill, construction is at a much earlier phase. The next section of the ride encounters rising ground. Faced with the prospect of a slow section with small drops, the designers have decided to take the voyage underground.
The part that we're building right now is a tunnel section. There'll be part of this roller coaster that goes underground. It's all going to be dark. The parts here will have a cap on them. We're forming concrete walls right now.
So these rods right here, we'll have another piece of plywood on this side that holds the whole wall and all the concrete in there. It just helps tie it all together.
Wood shuttering is used to form molds for the walls and floor of the tunnel.
The tunnels are something that I'm really excited about. I remember Paula talking about those in a lot of those early emails, sort of asking if more was good and so on. And as far as I'm concerned, more tunnels are always good, especially if they're actually dark.
At 6,442 feet long, the voyage is over twice the length of an average wooden coaster.
Holiday World is marketing the voyage as an airtime machine, the most airtime on any coaster in the world. Airtime being that floating sensation. When you go over the crest of a hill, we try to get you somewhere close to 0 Gs so you feel weightless, which to enthusiasts and to anybody riding a coaster is really an important factor.
Look at this, another airtime moment, down into a lateral moment, up into the 90-degree corner.
It's almost like you're skiing down the hill.
It is.
Riders on the voyage will spend 25 seconds of the ride's 2 minutes 45 duration completely weightless.
Even though it has a steel structure, the track bed itself is traditional wooden coaster construction.
Well, and that's what controls the ride experience is what the wheels are actually riding on. The structure is important, but not what is determinative of that. But the Intamin one at Six Flags, there's some interesting thoughts about whether that should count as a wooden coaster or not. It certainly has wood.
The Secret Nine have huge reservations about the self-assembly structure employed by El Toro at Six Flags.
The part about the Intamin ride that really kind of concerns me is that the wooden coasters, we're standing out here watching them build this, and you can see the hand craftsmanship that's involved, banking these corners and putting it all together. And the Intamin ride is like IKEA. It's plug and play. Pieces are ordered, they snap it together, and the ride just goes up in an instant.
This track is already pre-made in Germany. It's laminated, glued, pressed, bolted, and labeled for installation. You can see, just looking at it, the track comes in all of the different configurations of the profile of the ride. They all have the slope and the curvature built into it. So we're hoping to make up a tremendous amount of time, certainly in labor and with our schedule, and quality of the ride also.
Despite its steel-like precision, the hope is that the new ride will retain some traditional appeal.
You always experienced on a wood coaster the noise of the wood cracking and the chattering, and you still will on this. You still got the beauty of a massive amount of lumber, the immensity of so many thousands of components and pieces, and you will still feel like you're on a wood roller coaster, and you will be.
The builders and engineers are enthusiastic, but ultimately, it is the paying public who will decide if the new ride is a success.
Well, I'm a little nervous. It might be too smooth, which might take away from the wooden
Some coaster
nature of it.
enthusiasts are really, big fans of the rough ride that wooden coasters give, and
Well-
that. But I mean, I don't know. I like them all.
Some of them are a little too rough for my kids, so I think El Toro will be great for my 8-year-old as well. He loves wooden coasters just like me and his dad.
It's this kind of family appeal that the Joneses at Beach Bend Park in Kentucky desperately need.
For a park of this size, it's a huge investment to spend $4 million on one attraction. You know, and people tell you if they build it, they will come, and that's true in some cases, but it's still a huge gamble for Dallas and the family.
I don't think we'll have enough people to come and pay for it, but I hope we'll have enough to come and help pay for it. And hopefully within 4 or 5 years, we may be standing here doing another one, but I would hope to have 100,000 extra people next year.
But with just 100,000 visitors a year at the moment, and everything they own riding on the success of their new coaster, it's a huge gamble to take.
We're not a large corporation. We can't just, declare bankruptcy and move on and go to the next place. This is our home. We have roots here, ties to the community, and we want it to work.
The race is on to build the most spectacular new thrill ride on the planet. 3 multi-million-dollar coasters, all opening the same day, all made from wood, and all vying to be the best and biggest.
We're building El Toro, which is the steepest drop ever constructed at 76 degrees.
We've got track crossing over and under itself 32 times.
5 underground tunnels. You'll go through them a total of 8 times. Some of them go through them twice.
No new ride is going to appeal to everybody, but popular attractions are the key to a successful park. Get it right, and all your Christmases can come at once.
My father was really Santa. He really was. He believed so strongly in the wonderful tradition of Santa Claus. And I believed, and I still believe. I think the spirit is there, and I think it's so very, very important.
For a 74-year-old woman who still believes in Father Christmas, Mrs. Cook is surprisingly shrewd.
I can remember when our guests would always say, if you just had a roller coaster, if you just had a roller coaster, imagine, we will have 3 roller coasters. That's just almost unthinkable to me.
With rides costing millions of dollars, everyone knows the bottom line is attendance figures. And the Gravity Group hope that state-of-the-art computer-aided design will help them deliver.
They're, I think, in installing the Voyage, hoping to increase their attendance to 1 million guests next summer.
It's a tough target, but Chad Miller believes their ride has what it takes.
First of all, the Voyage is just huge. The first drop is steeper than anything we've ever designed, 66 degrees. I think the Gravity Group makes a point of trying to use the terrain, use the site to our advantage, whether it be the elevation of the land to help us get more energy where we need more energy, but also just flying through the forest. And when trees are flying by, you feel like you're going even faster. We like to design our rides as they're being built. It's a concurrent process. Right now, they're erecting the lift hill, and we're still designing the turnaround area of the ride. And I think, first of all, it gives us more time to really think about the ride and just tweak it here and there and look at every little spot.
Construction manager Jeff Mason has to deal with the practical realities of any tweaking.
They are some good engineers, and they're always designing stuff, and I'm out here trying to get my stuff done, and every now and then they're back in the office changing things.
We try to stay ahead of him with our designs and our drawings so that when he gets to a certain point on the ride, that we have the information ready for him. But sometimes it does get kind of close, and he's calling us. He's asking us, do you have this ready? Do you have this ready?
Right now we're working in a phase that they really didn't even have designs yet. So I'm pushing and shoving them to try to get me some information for out here. And like I said, I hope things just don't change after we get this thing laid out.
Jeff has good reason for trying to keep on schedule. He is racing against the coming winter weather, and even the most minor of delays could put the voyage way behind the other two coasters. While Chad is racing to keep ahead of Jeff, Jeff is trying to keep ahead of the team erecting the steel structure.
These are called laces, and basically it's kind of just like lacing your shoes up. But I got a drawing that shows where they go, and they have to be all in certain areas. I go through the blueprints that the gravity group sent us, and I mark off each individual lace as I assemble the pieces. Really, it's a key to the whole job. It tells me everything I need to do through the pieces and everything.
To hold a ride the size of the voyage together takes an awful lot of nuts and bolts.
70 to 80,000 bolts in it. Everything's galvanized, so it don't rust. This one here is about 2,000 pounds. Get one with 5 legs on it, it's probably 3,500 to 4,000, about twice the size.
Once bolted together on the ground, sections called bents are hoisted into position.
That one there, we could probably get it in about 35 minutes, 40 minutes probably. Some of the bigger ones, about an hour and 10 minutes is the biggest one. Some of them we can do in about 10 minutes. It depends on how big they are.
For the men working 165 feet in the air, it's a dangerous game. Wind, rain, and ice can come into play every single day.
If you're not scared, you're a fool. You just got to respect where you're at and pay attention to what you're doing.
It's a demanding job that requires an extraordinary type of person.
Feels better than being on the ground. Why? There's just a sense of peace being up here. I don't know what it is.
Contrary to popular belief, they're not wild and crazy guys like you think they are. They're family men. They just do it for a living. So, if you went out and partied all night, you couldn't do that all day. That's the way I look at it.
Yeah, I have a family. I have 2 boys and a wife. And I worry about them making it home every day safe with all my fingers and my life. There's a lot of people that die on this job. It's just dangerous.
The second time I fell, I thought, well, this is it. I'm gone, you know. But it didn't work out that way, thank goodness. So you don't have a lot of time to react, but you do. I mean, I was grabbing a hold of things, trying to keep from falling down. There was wire mesh on the floor. I pulled it in the hole with me and got my arms all scraped up and cut up. But I don't know how you'd explain that feeling. It's a rush, but yet it ain't one you ever want to have. I know that.
Work on the voyage continues, but the nightmare scenario of a delay seems about to become reality. The gravity group has encountered a problem, which if not resolved quickly, could derail the whole operation. At Beach Bend Park, Kentucky, Dallas Jones has gambled his family's entire life savings on the hope that the town of Bowling Green becomes famous as the home of the world's greatest wooden roller coaster. It's a make-or-break moment, and everyone knows it.
For the most part, this is a huge thing for Beach Bend. It's basically something like this to put us on the map, and that's what this park needs. I mean, the park right now, our attendance is there, but it's not enough that you know they're doing good, you know.
With so much at stake, the Joneses are desperate to launch their ride early and steal a march on their competitors. Unlike El Toro at Six Flags, the track at Beach Bend is constructed by hand out of 20-foot planks of 12 by 2. To form the running track, 7 layers of planks are individually bent and shaped to fit the profile of the ride. That's 40,000 feet of hand-laid track. The joints must be staggered to allow the track to flex in a uniform way and prevent points of weakness. So critical is the construction of the track to the feel of the ride that inaccuracy of as little as 1/16 of an inch is unacceptable. As workers race to finish the Kentucky track in time, the Jones family gathers to try and choose a name for the new ride.
It's been a long, hard job to name the coaster, and we started a contest some 3 or 4 months ago, and we've got literally thousands of names to pick from.
If we don't name it soon, Granny's going to pass away, so we got to give it. You know, we got to name the thing.
So it's really important. Kentucky Rumbler.
I mean, I like that. I mean, it's
the Thunder Run.
Twisted Timbers. Now, so I like that one too.
That was one that it's been on our list for a while.
What do y'all think about that one?
It's really a theme for the coaster, and it makes the coaster sound really good.
The marketing thing is it's the most twisted coaster in 7 states, and that's based on real research. That
Clay come up with a name over the weekend that's actually on several sheets of paper here, the Bodacious.
Bodacious. It literally means intimidator. I mean, you're bold, you're out there, and it literally says you're an intimidator. It's intimidating.
We want a strong name.
There's something in the dictionary about bodacious being big-breasted women.
No.
In Indiana, the Gravity Group have a problem with the voyage.
We encountered some uncontrolled fill, and there's a real concern about settlement in this area. And so we don't want to build on that uncontrolled fill. And we were discussing how...
Soft earth in a key area of the ride is presenting a problem in installing foundations, and work has stopped.
We'll have to get Jeff going on phase 4, and then when we resolve this issue, then we can get Jeff to come back to phase 2 and get on
We're going to
track.
have to get on phase 4 as well,
Right.
to stay ahead of him.
In order to stay on schedule and ahead of the steel workers, Jeff is forced to start working in an area that the Gravity Group are still to design. The voyage is fast losing ground on the other coasters.
You'll want to get all that concrete poured before winter because, getting the concrete trucks up and down that hill with snow on the ground would be a challenge.
But that'll be fine. We can go ahead and get a good number and go with it.
I think he'll be fine to go to phase 4. So we'll get him to phase 4 and start getting him layout and everything he needs to get his crews working there. And then if the weather holds out, we should stay on schedule, and this glitch shouldn't have been a big deal.
Right.
Later that evening, preliminary plans are on the way. The worry now is whether they'll be able to return to the problem section before the winter weather makes the work they need to do there impossible. At Beach Bend Park in Kentucky, the Jones family face their own race against time. With a press conference scheduled for the following day, Dallas and his Jones dynasty still seem no nearer to deciding upon a name for the new coaster.
Mad Dog has been
Three
seen
of
by
those
a lot of different people, and I don't know for sure how you could tie promotion material in with Mad Dog.
You know, talking about Mad Dog, it's kind of on the edge, but if we go with something like Twisted Timbers or Kentucky Rumbler, Bluegrass, I mean, that's a safe name. I mean, there's no offense or anything going to go there, but it's not as edgy as something like Bodacious or Mad Dog would be. But
Bodacious is available. We've researched it. Bodacious is okay.
There's not a Kentucky Rumbler, but what we've researched, we didn't find Rumbler.
No
There's
Rumbler
no
at all.
Rumbler.
What do you think,
Granny?
Well, I think I'm too old to rumble.
Think about just if this grabs you or not.
Black
You know, black screen, TV
like
commercial,
kind of an earthquake.
and you hear a little noise, and you got two guys or two girls discussing it. One of them says, "Hey, Bob, do you hear that?" And and then a few minutes later, you got one of them saying, "Do you feel that?" And then you bust out with Kentucky Rumbler.
You bust out of the black screen with the front of the
Go
train.
from black to the front of the train coming out.
Coming at you.
Coming like right at you.
Right, Kentucky.
Well, you can have a big-breasted woman come out and call Bodacious. That's what you want.
That doesn't
doesn't
suit me
cut
at all. I don't care for that.
At Six Flags, New Jersey, the newly poured concrete footings for El Toro have now set, and earth is being backfilled around them. But it's not just huge quantities of concrete that go into the foundations. Several hundred tons of steel will also be used.
Rides are getting faster, they're getting steeper, they're getting more turns. So the tension of these rides is so drastic once the cars are moving and dropping and spinning that reinforcing steel is needed in the concrete to give it tensile strength. The force of the ride itself would want to make the concrete bend. Concrete doesn't bend, it breaks. So what the tensile strength of reinforcing does is make sure that concrete stays level and doesn't bend or break.
Back in Kentucky, the Jones family is no closer to choosing a name.
I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to narrow it down to 4 names. And those 4 names, if I'm right, is Mad Dog, Kentucky Rumbler, Twisted Timbers, and Bodacious.
I don't like Bodacious.
I don't like
You what?
Bodacious.
I don't like Bodacious.
Queen has spoken.
All right, Bodacious is out. The queen of the house said Bodacious is out, so Bodacious is out.
Well, let's just talk about each one of them one at a time. And everybody, this is the time to spill your guts.
With the press conference just hours away, an awful lot still remains to be done if the park is to be ready.
Got another row about right here. It's a little crooked, make them straight.
Daughter Charlotte is painfully aware of the financial realities. Making a final inspection to check everything is in order, Dallas remains unfazed. But as the moment of truth approaches, the pressure is clearly getting to Charlotte.
Too windy, too windy. It's windy out here today. Of course, everything is going to blow away all day long. But I'm going to tape it all down.
In less than an hour, the family's $4 million gamble will face its first test. At Beach Bend Park in Kentucky, the press conference has occupied everyone's minds for weeks, and they all know that if they don't attract significant media attention today, they'll stand little chance of paying for the $4 million coaster. The fear of failure is never far away.
My family has pretty much their entire life savings tied up in this coaster. And if it doesn't go well, I will, I don't know, I'll never be able to face my father again.
But with less than an hour to go, attendance is still distinctly underwhelming, and it seems as if Charlotte's misgivings might well be founded. Six Flags in New Jersey, despite the incredible number of prefabricated pieces already on site, only a fraction of El Toro's enormous structure has been delivered.
We've got many boatloads of containers coming over, and percentage-wise, we're just starting this project.
Though they seem impossibly far behind, Al and Richie are confident of meeting their deadline.
This particular installation will allow us, in the end, to have I think, a much quicker finish than in terms of the number of man hours involved. I would say that you can lay this track in, I would say, 20% of the time of a traditional track.
At Holiday World, Indiana, the Cook family and the Secret Nine are eagerly awaiting the voyage's opening. There's still a lot to do, but with the highest point of the ride now complete, designer Chad Miller is on his way to take a look at his creation for the very first time.
It's kind of an awesome thing to think about, and I think it's going to be an awesome thing to see. Having not seen it before above the trees, I don't really know exactly when we're going to spot it for the first time. Okay, I can see the Holiday World water towers and the crane, so we're getting close. Yeah, there it is. Wow, look at that. That's amazing. I think those trees are about 40 or 50 feet tall, and so the structure just dwarfs it. Wow.
At Beach Bend Park in Kentucky, Dallas Jones and family are praying that they too will be able to look back on this moment as the start of something great. And as the press finally put in a last-minute appearance, it seems their chances of actually achieving their dream may not be as far-fetched as first imagined.
How very proud we are of our parents, Dallas and Alfreda Jones, today. They have taken their life savings, their retirement, the future home on the beach somewhere that they could have had, and they have put every dime of that into this coaster. And I hope people will come out in huge numbers to ride what I think will be the #1 wooden roller coaster in the United States next year.
The success of the press conference allows everyone at Beach Bend Park to relax and breathe a temporary sigh of relief.
Go ahead.
And after all the fussing and all the arguing, we finally settled on Kentucky Rumbler.
So the race is well and truly on for the Kentucky Rumbler, El Toro, and the voyage. But which one will take the title, world's greatest wooden roller coaster? Well, only time will tell. As for Dallas, he's in no doubt.